Hi there, and welcome to Live with the Paper Pixie, episode 335. If you're new here, I'm Julie DiMatteo, the Paper Pixie, coming to you live from Alpharetta, Georgia. Today is Wednesday, June 26th, 2024. Hello to those of you watching live. If you're watching live, tell us where you're watching from, and hello to my replay watchers. If you're new here, let us know in the chat, and my amazing audience will welcome you. If you'd like to join us in the chat, you do need to log into your Google account or your YouTube account, and then you can join us here in the chat tonight. Let's see, tonight's theme is triangles. I have a double triangle fun fold card for you, which I'll show you how that opens when I switch to the other camera, and a triangular treat box that I've done. I did something like this years and years ago from Amanda Charlesworth was my inspiration, and then I tweaked this to use a smaller amount of paper. So it's a cute little box. That's what we're doing tonight. Let's see, if you've got a question for me, put a Q in front of that question. That will make it into my queue because I'm going to save all of your questions for the end of tonight's live stream. That way I can focus on demonstrating the projects, and I'll stay on until the end till I've answered all of your questions. So put a Q in front of it, otherwise it's just a comment. And if you could save that for questions only, we'd appreciate that. Brian is also watching the chat. My husband Brian is sitting over here. And let's see, when you shop with me, you earn Pixie Perks on orders of $25 or more. All you need to do is use my magic shopping link, thepaperpixie.com/shop. That will automatically take you to the Stampin' Up! Online store with me as your demonstrator. It'll add my current host code to your order so you don't have to look that up. If your order is going to be $150 or more before shipping and taxes, make sure to take that host code off of your order. You'll find the host code on the shopping cart screen. You can remove it there. You'll earn Stampin' Rewards from Stampin' Up! On orders of $150 or more, and you'll also earn Pixie Perks from me as well. So kind of the rule of thumb is that $150 threshold. If your order is less than that, you want to make sure the host code's on it so you can earn my Pixie Perks. And if it's $150 or more, take the host code off and you kind of double dip with Pixie Perks and Stampin' Rewards. We only have a few more days left of the bundle sale. That is an additional 10% off our stamp and die bundles and 10% off of our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machines, both sizes, and then the two different colors of the mini. There's a white version and a boho blue. All three of the machines, the big boss and the two mini bosses, those are all 10% off. Stamp and die bundles are basically 20% off the retail value of the pieces and parts in it. There are a few that are sold out at the moment. The stamp set is sold out. So I'm not sure they're going to be restocked before the end. There's only about 5 of the stamp and die bundles, but the rest of them are available, and that will go through June 30th. What we have to look forward to in July is some online exclusives. We'll be launching July 3rd. We have like fall and Christmas and winter and Halloween products coming. You're going to love them. I have pre-ordered them. I haven't started playing with them yet, but I've been oohing and eyeing over them. And also, July 3rd, we'll start bonus days. So for each $50 order increment, you'll earn a $5 coupon code to be used during the month of August. So we typically have this every year. So bonus days is coming up in July as well. And again, that doesn't quite start till July 3rd. So we'll talk about that next Wednesday because next Wednesday is July 3rd. So let me flip the camera. Let me give you another quick project overview here. Again, we're doing triangles tonight. So this is a double triangle fun fold. I have a Velcro closure here. So the two triangles open, and then we have a little mini card on the inside. The card itself is 4 1/4 by 3. I do want to give a shout out to Patty Bennett. She has another version of the double triangle fun fold, some different dimensions. And as I was kind of looking around and designed this, I realized mine is a lot like hers as well. She just has different measurements. So that is this, and it's such a fun little way to, add some interest to the card. It's like a little secret card in a card. And I decided to do a more masculine card, which I haven't done in a while. So that's the fun fold we're going to learn tonight. And then here is our triangular treat box. And it is actually created using a strip of cardstock and a strip of designer series paper. So here's what the front looks like. There's no sentiment on the front, but I love doing this with 3D projects. I have hidden the sentiment right on the inside. You always lift me up. And so it's got a little bit of a different opening here. The box itself, it's an equilateral triangle if you look at it from the side. So it's 2 inches by 2 inches by 2 inches if you look at it here, but technically the height is 1 3/4 inches. So 2 by 2 by 1 3/4 inches. So let me show you the products that we're using today. All right, let me show you where this is in the catalog. This is the Take to the Sky suite. I don't actually have the embellishments because at the time I ordered it, those were out of stock and I forgot to purchase them since. So, Adventurous Sky bundle is a great masculine bundle. This would be really fun to take on a flight for the pilots or the flight attendants. So it's got designer series paper, stamp set dies, and embellishments. Here's just a quick sneak peek of some great inspiration. It's one of my favorite things about our catalogs is it's full of inspiration. I'm going to also be using the adhesive backed texture dots. I love these. These just were restocked, I think the end of last week, early this week. They were out of stock for a little while. Great little masculine embellishment there. The 1 3/4 inch circle punch. This I think currently is out of stock, but it's an online exclusive. It will be restocked. Here's a quick peek at the Take to the Sky designer series paper. It does have a full sheet, 2 full sheets of these images that you can fussy cut with your scissors and get great tags and backgrounds from. I love this pattern. That's a cool geometric pattern there. Love the clouds. This is the pattern we're using on tonight's projects. And then here is a closer look at the stamp set, Adventurous Sky, with the coordinating die set. Lots of great details for the airplanes. I love this little banner that you can attach to this piece here and attach it to the back of one of the planes. Super cute. And then I'm bringing in the Spotlight on Nature dies. We're going to use the smallest of the circles that has sort of that starburst or sunburst dimension to it, and then this size. So let me give you those dimensions really quickly before I forget. The smallest one is about 1 1/8 inches, so 1 1/8 inches. And then we're doing this one, which is 2 1/8 inches in diameter. So it's this guy we're using on the card, and then the smallest one we're using on the 3D project. Okay. Now, I have, believe it or not, Brian's like, "Are you feeling okay?" I have the project sheets. Both project sheets are linked in the description, as well as all the supplies I'm using tonight. So after tonight's video, you can go to the description just below this video, grab those free project sheets, and then if there's anything you just have to add to your cart, I've got the shopping list in the bottom for you. All right, so we're gonna start with the 3D project, and let me make sure I'm on that page on my project sheet. All right, so I'm gonna start with a piece of cardstock that this is boho blue, one of the coordinating colors, and this measures 2 inches by 8 inches. And then I've got a piece of designer series paper. I love this checkered pattern. And this piece measures 2 by 5.5. So you've got 2 by 8 and 2 by 5.5. 2 by 5.5. Now, when I created a similar box to this, it was a little bit bigger, but back in, I think, 2020, if not 2019, maybe, I used a full sheet of cards, not a full sheet of cardstock, but it was one piece of cardstock that was a big rectangle, and then we removed all of this stuff in the 4 corners. So this way actually uses less paper, less to cut away, and it's kind of a cool way to have the pattern on the sides. And then I just have a couple other panels, I'll bring those in a moment when we get ready to add them, of designer series paper. So it doesn't use as much paper, we're not cutting away as much waste. So again, 2 by 8, 2 by 5.5. All right, so I'm gonna bring in the Simply Scored, which is my favorite scoring tool ever. And first we're gonna go with the boho blue along the long side, so the 8-inch side, and I'm gonna score this at 1.5, 3.5, 5.5, and 7.5. So 1.5, 3.5, 5.5, 7.5, okay? And then bringing in the designer series paper along the 5.5 inch side, we're gonna score this at 1 3/4 from each side. And then I'm gonna turn it to the short side. And this is, had I thought ahead of time, I would have picked a designer series paper. You can see a little bit easier. With this busy pattern, it's gonna be difficult to see the score lines, but I do have a template for you. But along the 2-inch sides, I'm gonna take the ball tip of my stylus and I'm just gonna make a little tick mark, I call it, at the 1 inch. So that's the center point. I'm gonna rotate it 180 and then again, right at the 1 inch mark. Okay. Now, if you have a paper that's much easier to see, you can just barely see that little tick mark there. And that's just identifying the center of the paper there. Okay. All right. Let me have this window in my way here. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish on all the score lines of the boho blue. Going to kind of be working on these pieces interchangeably here. Like that. I'm going to go ahead and put that off to the side. We'll bring that back in a moment. And then I've got my designer series paper. Now let me bring in a template for reference. So when we had it on the 5.5 inch side, we scored at 1 3/4 from each side. And then we made a tick mark at the halfway point, so along the 2-inch side at 1 inch. So all we're gonna do, we've already done these score lines. It's tripping me up with that upside down. We've already done these score lines, but we need to come in and do these diagonal score lines. And those are essentially they're diagonal, coming from the score lines we've already done, diagonally up to that tick mark, okay? Now, you're not gonna be able to see this very easily on this paper, but maybe you can see on the back side. Excuse me. So we've got the score line here, the tick mark right there, and I'm gonna do a diagonal line from here to there. I'm gonna actually do it on this Mossy Meadow side. I'll bring that template back in just a moment. Here's my ruler. And then I'm gonna grab my take your pick tool, and I already have it on the end, the stylus tip. So when you get the take your pick tool, you actually get the putty end, this double-ended stylus, and then you get the spatula and piercing tool. So these all come together as sold with the take your pick tool, and then you can purchase an additional, there's 2 different attachments. One is the wire brush, which I see mine right here, for getting intricate pieces out of die cuts. And then I don't have the other ones, I haven't ordered them, but there's additional crafter tips, like a rotary blade that does perforation. There's a X-Acto knife on it. So it's a really great tool, and you get some different attachments. So ball tip, I always like the smallest of the 2 ball tips. And I'm going to start on my little tick mark. I'm gonna zoom this in just a wee bit. All right, so this score line is hard to see right along there. I'm gonna actually put my stylus right there where that score line meets the edge. I'm gonna bring my ruler to it, and then I can see the little 1 inch tick mark at the top a little bit easier. I think you can see that right there, okay? So I'm just gonna score that. And if you've got not quite a busy pattern, this is way easier to see. Let's see. All right, there's my line. Sometimes if I tilt my head, I can get my lights just right to pick up the different dimension there. And it's okay that I'm doing this on the back side, even though we're gonna fold it a different way. But there's my little equilateral triangle there. I'm gonna rotate it and repeat the same thing. Again, let me find that horizontal line, which happens to be right where that little pattern is. And there we go. Just looking for that. There we go. All right, awesome. Okay, the hard part is done. Let me make sure I zoom back out. All right. So now what we can do, kind of see those diagonal score lines a little bit, but I'm going to just fold on the score lines and burnish, adjusting if needed, if I didn't quite get it all the way to the score line. And we're just going to fold and burnish on all the score lines, diagonal or not. Let's see. That one, I think I was way off, so we're going to redo that one. I'm seeing that it's going past my folded score line, and that's actually probably going to cause me some trouble. Let's try that one more time. There we go. I think my ruler slipped on me. You guys probably saw it and were like, no. There we go. That should do the trick. We like that line better. All right, so now we've got something that's going to fold up like so, okay? And again, let me bring in that template. There we go, okay? All right, now I'm going to bring in some additional pieces of designer series paper. Now this is not directional, so this piece doesn't really matter which way you cut it, but I've got two pieces that are 1 7/8 by 1 7/8, and one piece that's 1 3/8 by 1 7/8. If you had a directional pattern, you'd want this to be in landscape, so the top longer than the sides. I'm going to bring in my boho blue piece, and the side that has the larger section compared to this skinnier section, we're going to go ahead and round the corners here. And I'm also going to round the corners of this piece that's a rectangle. We're going to round those two bottom corners. So if you did have a directional pattern and you cut it to landscape, you want to make sure that you round the bottom two corners. There we go. And let's go ahead and adhere these now. We're going to do some stamping as well, and then we're going to put this triangular treat box together. And I'm going to show you a number of different things that can fit in here, because I know you're going to ask if you haven't already. I know you guys. One of the best audiences out there. If I don't say so myself, did I say that right? If I say so myself. Wow. I try sometimes, but again, like I said, when I'm live, my mouth says one thing, my brain thinks another. All right, we're gonna skip this middle section here. This is the bottom, so we don't need to put designer series paper there. Little hair extra piece there, or extra paper piece. All right, so skipping this middle section, and then we're gonna go right here. And these are cut to size so that we only have about a 1/16 of an inch of the boho blue peeking out from behind. I do have this is a template as well, even though it's really straightforward, but just so you can see it for reference on the project sheet. Let me show you that really quickly. So here's what the project sheet looks like. You've got the basic cardstock. Now again, these are not to scale, but I put them just so they fit the same height as the picture, but there's the DSP template, there's the cardstock template, and then a photo for reference. This QR code you can scan with your device and it will take you right back to this video. All right, so we've done all of that. I did forget to do one thing on here. I'm just gonna gently miter cut the edges here. When I say gently, I mean just a tiny little miter cut. I'll show you why I added this section. This section's not required, but I think it gives this box a nicer finish. So before we glue this together, I just wanna dry fit this so you can kind of see how that's gonna go together. So I wanted to hide a sentiment piece right here. So it's the section just beneath the rounded corner section. And I'm gonna bring in boho blue and the cloud images from Adventurous Sky. Yeah, Adventurous Sky. And I'm gonna bring in a scrap piece of paper because I want to stamp off once, sort of do that second generation stamping. What did I do with this one? Let me look at that. Okay, the smaller one in the upper right. So stamping it off once and then putting it in the upper left. I think I said upper right, upper left. And then the larger cloud stamp, do that in the lower right. And that just gives a nice little backdrop, subtle, behind the sentiment. So we're gonna stamp the sentiment in Night of Navy, one of my absolute favorite colors. And the sentiment, you always lift me up. There we go. So just a little fun little sentiment on the inside of the box, okay? All right, now it's time to put our triangular treat box together. Let me get tidied up a little bit here. All right, so the way this is gonna work, this center square, so we have kind of 3 2-inch squares. My designer series paper is actually going to lay perpendicular to the cardstock there, and it's gonna just sit right on the inside. So what I like to do is, you can do it either way. I'm gonna put liquid glue on the cardstock because I can see it better. We're gonna put that right in the center panel there. And then I definitely recommend liquid glue here. It's gonna give you a little bit of time to wiggle this into place. I do like to kind of fold those edges down. So this is totally flat. And that gives me an opportunity to line up the edges left to right. And then I'm basically wanting to make sure that I've got that sandwiched in between the score lines. It is a bit of a tight fit because it's the exact same measurement. This is 2 inches wide and this is 2 inches wide. But I did that to save you from crazy measurements. So I try to only do that too every once in a while, crazy measurements. So there we go. Okay, so now that is the basics of the triangular treat box. You could have created this with a large piece of cardstock or designer series paper, but then you'd have the excess in these 4 corners that we'd be removing, okay? So the way I'm gonna put this together, I'm actually gonna have it open from the back. So this is gonna end up being our front, but I'm gonna glue these front sort of triangular sides to the front of our cardstock. We're gonna leave the back one open because that's how the lid opens, okay? You could do it the other way if you wanted to, but I kind of loved adding that sentiment here. So you've got options. I'm gonna start by applying liquid glue to this triangle here, this right triangle. So go up to the score line, not over it. And we're gonna line up that score line with this cut edge. Again, liquid glue is your friend here to get that lined up just right. I'm just gonna kind of hold that in place. Pressing from the inside, just while it sticks. And then I'm gonna put this flat, and with my bone folder, just press from the inside to smooth that adhesive out. Okay, that's one side. We're gonna do the same thing to the opposite side here. So liquid glue up to the score line. And again, lining up the score line with the cut edge. Making this appear as one, okay? Even though we've perpendicularly placed 2 pieces of paper to create this cool triangular treat box. All right, I got that there. I'm gonna come in and burnish. All right, so essentially those flaps are gonna close in, but I wanted to have a nice folded edge here. So that's the purpose of this little 1/2 inch section, that's going to fold right down to the inside of our box. So as mentioned, that is totally optional. If you didn't want to add this little 1/2 inch piece, you're going to cut your piece to 7.5 inches, and you just don't do that last score line, the 7.5 inch score line. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold that down. And then I'm just going to come in and do a nice burnish. So it just gives that edge. I don't know, I love a folded edge on a box. It just takes a 3D project up a notch. So then these two little right triangles are going to fold in. Now they look a little bit different, but that is just how this box goes together. We don't have tapered, well, it's tapered this way, but we don't have our designer series paper pinching in. Similar to like this box from a few weeks ago, you lose a little bit of space when the sides fold in like that. So it's just a little bit of a different design there, okay? So in order to close this, I have opted for a Velcro closure. You could use magnets if you wanted to. You could also wrap this with ribbon or a belly band or something along those lines. So let me grab a Velcro dot. And these are 5/8 of an inch in diameter. They are thin clear fasteners from Velcro. I've got them on my favorites page. I love these so much, as I'm sure you guys know. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel the backing off of one side. And then I'm gonna stick that closer to the edge as opposed to the middle of the panel. That will just prevent this edge from popping up too much. And then before I press that Velcro dot down, I'm just making sure we're lined up along the edges and the front. So I'm kind of holding my fingers here on the edge just to make sure that that's not shifted one side to the other, like so. And I'm gonna go ahead and open this and just press on those Velcro dots one more time, like so. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish decorating this, and then I'll show you what's gonna fit, or a couple different ideas. I'm sure you guys will come up with others. I have already done die cutting and stamping ahead of time, but I thought I would just do the stamp really quickly. This cute little, the mini airplane from the set. So in Night of Navy. I love that sort of pencil texture there. And then just to show you the dies, the smallest of the airplane dies will perfectly cut that airplane out for you, okay? So through the magic of video, that's already done, even though you saw that off to the side. And then I die cut this from the Spotlight on Nature dies. Again, that's the smallest circle die cut out of Night of Navy, and it's 1 1/8 in diameter. So for that, I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue kind of towards the center of my airplane here, not going all the way to the edge. And I'm going to place that in the middle of my circle here. And then I'm going to grab Stampin' Dimensional. I thought about putting more than one, but I figured there wasn't a ton of space back there. And then I'm just going to pop that right in the center. And then we're going to add one little piece of, one little embellishment. Again, the adhesive backed textured dots. These were just textured dots or restocked. Swap out the tips here. And I love these. These are from a different suite, but they look great as a masculine element because of the metallic and the texture. Okay, so there is our triangular treat box. Let me show you some things that will fit. I brought out a bunch of treats. Okay, let me first show you what's not going to fit that I was kind of disappointed with, but it is what it is. Sometimes I design the project before figuring it out. Ferrero Rocher will not fit. It just barely because of the way this tapers, you'll see that it doesn't quite close. Okay, so wah, wah. Now a Lindor truffle might fit. They are a little bit smaller in diameter than the Ferrero Rochers, but I don't have any of those in my house right now. And then, let's see, a pair of Ghirardelli minis. Those will fit with a little room to spare. You could probably put, I don't think you could put a third one on there, but just to show you that that closes no problem. Okay. Box of Nerds will fit, which is kind of a weird treat, but if you're doing Halloween, that could be a cute little dress up for Box of Nerds. I could get 3 Hershey's miniatures. So I put 2 of them kind of long ways and then 1 short ways. Those fit just perfectly and closes. I've told the kids they need to leave at least 1 or 2 of certain candies behind so that I can see what fits. And of course, these are from projects because they still have the designer series paper. But same thing, if I put 2, it's actually a perfect fit width-wise for 2 nuggets, but you can fit a third one on top. Like, whoops, like so. So 3 Hershey's Nuggets fit in there. And then finally, in my stash, here are 5 Hershey's Kisses. And I was able to kind of shake those around, and those fit perfectly. And they don't wiggle around, but they're a perfect fit. Okay, so that's all those treats. Let me see if there was anything else that I can put in there. My little thing of treats. There's a couple other ones I wanted to try. Actually, that would work. So the Demet's Turtle Bites, if you've seen these before, the wrapper gets a little bit in the way, but those should fit. A miniature York Peppermint, that fits as well. I know that the Dove Promises do, but I bet you could fit, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them in there. These treats, which I had found, or you found at Aldi's, right? Did you find these at Aldi's? Favorina, or actually I had a customer send them to me, I think. I don't remember now. Oh, you got them from Lidl. That's right. Anyways, a few of those could fit in there. I think that's about it. Chocolate coins, yeah, those would fit too. Well, it looks like only 2 of them. Anyway, so a bunch of different ideas for you, okay? Because I know you're going to ask. All right, so there we have our triangular treat box. Again, the project sheet is linked in the description, as well as all the products that I used on this. And we're going to shift gears now, and I'm going to show you how to do the fun fold card, which is so fun to put together. So here's a quick overview again. It opens with a Velcro opening, and you've got this sort of secret or inside card layer, which I love. So we're going to go ahead and build this. Bring in all my pieces and parts here. I'm going to do a little bit of coloring live, which it's always fun to watch. All right, I've got thick basic white. This is 5.5 by 4 1/4. That's going to be our card base. Then I've got a panel that is a matte layer of Night of Navy that's 4 3/4 by 3.5. That's going to lay like so. I've then got our little inner card piece, and that is 8.5 by 3. I have scored it in the middle, so along the 8.5 inch side I scored it at 4 1/4 to create a little card. Just gonna line up those edges and burnish. Actually, let me show you my trick. If you're new here and you haven't seen this before, I love to use tools to do this, because sometimes our cardstock is not always cut straight, whether by ourselves or by the warehouse. So I like to push all the corners into like a 90-degree angle corner. You can use your Simply Scored. That gets everything lined up for you. Even though I did put the score line there, I still love to get that sharp lined up edge there, okay? So you could use the Simply Scored. You can also use your paper trimmer. We've got a raised edge here in the bottom left. So this is the top here, this bottom left, which you can't see on camera, that works. This one works as well, but it's got a little bit of a gap where the arm reaches out. So I've been using this bottom corner. And then if you have a stamp positioning tool, you could use that as well. Anything that's got a raised edge. So that's the inner card piece. Then we've got a piece of designer series paper. This measures 4 inches by 2 3/4. And that's just a matte layer on the front of our card. Okay. And then the fun part, and why I have the layers this size, is for our double triangle closure. I have 2 pieces of designer series paper that just measure 3 by 3, which means you can get 16, no, 3, yeah, is that right? No, 9. 4 by 4, no, it's 16, isn't it? I can't do the math, you guys. It's so funny while I'm live. 3 by 3.
For what?
Hold on, I'm gonna get my app. Yeah, how many pieces you can get out of 12 by 12. All right, hold on. Bringing out my phone. This is my favorite app, the die cut app. So we're gonna do 12 by 12. I think it's 16. 3 by 3. Done. Yeah, 16. Duh, Julie. Okay, so that's how many you can get out of. If you're looking for this app, it's an iPhone, it's free. You can give support. I gave support because I love this app so much. so much. But it helps you maximize your cuts. Yeah, you can get 16 of these panels. You can make 8 cards out of 1 sheet of 12 by 12 of this DSP. Obviously you need more for this, okay? All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do, let me move these off to the side. Brain fart while I'm live. I'm gonna fold these corner to corner diagonally. Now, I do recommend to use a designer series paper that doesn't have a directional pattern because technically these are gonna end up going diagonally, okay? So corner to corner. And again, you could use a tool like the Simply Scored if you wanted to get that right in the corner and that corner lined up. I'm just gonna fold with my fingers and then burnish. Go. So those pieces are ready to go. All right. So let's start to put some pieces and parts together. I'm first going to take this portrait, and I think I forgot to mention that. This piece again was 4 by 2 3/4. If you have a directional pattern like this, you want to cut it in portrait so the top is shorter than the sides. So liquid glue. That's a little close to the edge there. I'm gonna smooth it out a little bit. There we go. You can have a lot of fun mixing and matching patterns with this style fun fold. There's that. So we've got our inner card with the designer series paper layer on top. And then what we're gonna do is actually align these triangles to basically wrap around our inner panel. So the way that I like to line this up is I'm just taking this with point to point, top to bottom, but I'm only gonna put liquid glue on this right side. So going up to the score line and up to the edge in this triangle section. And I am actually placing the whole card as it is. I'm gonna set this on my surface and then bring this right to the edge. Now, at the same time, I'm kind of folding this over and just lining up top and bottom edge here. But I wanna make sure that this can fold. So you're basically just short of the score line here with the edge. I don't know if you can see that in the light. Hard to see, but I'm pushing it in basically as far as I can into that fold but still being able to fold this over, okay? Done that, and again, we only put glue on the bottom, so I can go ahead and open this. And then I'll just come in with my bone folder and just press that down here, like so. So that's the left side. We're gonna do the same thing on the right side, just opposite. Okay, so I'm gonna put liquid glue here. I'm gonna actually do it because I'm right-handed. like so. Again, putting that flat on the surface. The glue side is on the surface. Bringing my little folded card up to it. Again, lining up top edge and bottom edge, but pushing this in as much as I can, but making sure I can still fold it. And see how I've got that lined up at the top edge and the bottom edge there. So again, I can open this, smooth all that glue out. And the back is really cute, even though we're gonna cover it up, but I love how that looks. Like little, it looks like a little t-shirt or shirt or something, or a vest, I don't know. All right, so that piece is done. We're kind of going from the inside out. Then I'm gonna bring in my Night of Navy piece, and this piece was 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. And we're gonna glue this whole thing down with 1/4 inch of a border, okay? So, there we go. Again, liquid glue is your friend for layers here. Just getting that centered. There we go. And just like to kind of open everything up here. Press all that down. Like that. Now we're going to bring in our 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 piece of thick basic white. If you use a color, it'll be a thick enough weight, but I do like the thick basic white for any type of card base. And then you're going to have, I think it's 1/2 inch of a border. Let me double check that. 3/8 inch, right? Yeah, 3/8 inch of the basic white. So again, we're gonna then layer this. We're just nesting all these layers together. And then we'll bring it all together. I had both the boys in my family, Brian and Nolan, try to open the card. They needed a little bit of coaching, but Brian had the right idea. Nolan was like, I don't know. It's kind of fun to watch somebody try to open it though. I'm actually going to press this from the back. All right, there we go. So the basics of this are layered and put together. Again, I could sit here and open and close this. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and work on our little focal point, which is going to be, again, this was the what did I say it was? 2 1/8 diameter from the Spotlight on Nature dies. That's Night of Navy. I love this sort of starburst edge there. And then I have already stamped and die cut this with Night of Navy, but we're going to color that in. I am not a colorist by any means, but I am using, let's see, Copper Clay Dark, Boho Blue Light, and Smoky Slate Light. Not sure how I feel about the Copper Clay wheels, but we're going with it. These are the colors that are in the suite itself. Just gonna bring in a scrap piece of paper here. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and color in. I'm gonna zoom in. Again, I'm not a coloring expert at all, but I'm gonna do the colors that are different first. So Smoky Slate, and I'm just gonna color kind of the front of, or I should say the propeller front here. I'll go up to the edge there. And then Copper Clay Dark, I'm just gonna do the wheels. Well, let's get fancier, a little fancier. Let's do Smoky Slate in the center. And then Copper Clay around it. One thing I love about our Stampin' Blends is that they're just so nice for putting color down. Now, this is a water-based ink. This is alcohol-based ink. So you always want to pair opposites. So these actually work with any of our ink pads. I should say any of our classic Stampin' pads. These are water-based. You don't want to use Stays-On ink with the alcohol because that will blur. I can't think of the word right. No, it'll smear. So water-based ink, alcohol-based markers. So I've had a few customers that thought they could only use the Memento Tuxedo Black ink with Stampin' Blends, but you can use any of our Stampin' Blends. And now I'm just gonna use the Boho Blue Light. I'm using the brush tip because I've got a little bit more surface area to cover. I have a little bit more, it depends. I was about to say a little bit more control, but not necessarily. I can get thinner lines with the brush tip if I need them. So we're just gonna color in the rest of our airplane. Boho Blue. I'm not doing any sort of shading or anything. The line art here on the stamp really has a lot of the shading anyways, so I'm just leaving that to the Night of Navy ink in the stamp itself. Of course, we're a little blurry. Sorry about that because it's trying to focus on my hands. Now, if I were redoing this, I would stamp it, color it, and then die cut it, because then I'd have a little bit more control with holding the piece of paper. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, that is good enough. Just a little bit of color for the front of this card. All right, now I'm gonna bring in my scrap paper here and I'm gonna stamp the sentiment, flying by to say hi, in Night of Navy. And I'm gonna kind of put it, I'm eyeballing this here, but when I punch this with the 1 3/4 inch circle punch, I want my sentiment to be kind of down the lower right. So bringing this in. Here we go. So just have it kind of towards the lower right of the circle. That's one of the things I love about punches or dies. If you stamp first, you can position it right where you need it. All right, so let's go ahead and layer that. I'm going to show you a trick for getting the adhesive in just the right spot on the front of this card. So liquid glue on the white circle. I see your comment, Kathy. That is actually the wires coming down like you have here. Those are the wires. So it looks like you need to color that, but you don't. I was studying it. All right. So we've got that, and then I'm gonna layer this like so. Just putting a little bit of adhesive in the middle here. And then I'm trying to line up the body of the plane at the same, like parallel to the sentiment, if that makes sense. Okay, like so. All right, so here's the trick to getting adhesive right where you want it. Now this is a little bit, I was studying this thinking, oh, how am I gonna figure that out? So save your negative piece from when you die cut your circle, and then you can use that to basically put it into place. And I only want to apply adhesive on the left triangle, but still within this circle. So I'm going to kind of hold that in place. And I'm not going to go right up to the circle edge there, but at least make sure that I'm not putting adhesive where I don't want it, okay? You do want to make sure that your left, let's see if I can do that. Let me move this out of the way. That your left triangle is over the top of your right, okay? So again, I lined up that circle, only put adhesive on the left triangle, and then I can come in and center my circle here, and adhesive is going to be only where I wanted it, okay? Now, I do like to press it down briefly, and then I'll just open it and make sure that that looks kind of centered there. Looks good. Then you know that you've got it in exactly the right spot. All right, so all we need to do is add a little Velcro dot. You could use Let's see, a magnet if you wanted to. I'm looking for my non-stick scissors. You could wrap it with a belly band. I think Patty Bennett's version of this card has a belly band. I love my Velcro dots. So let's see. Pulling off the backing on one side. Then I can place this, now that that's glued to that triangle DSP piece or designer series paper piece, I can place that right there kind of at the point, and then I can close it. And it's gonna hold itself closed. Okay, and then we need one more embellishment. Let's see, all right, here we go. I'm gonna go with a bigger one for this one, because why not? We'll just kind of pop it off to the left there. And there we have our double triangle fun fold. So it opens with the Velcro, and I forgot to reinforce that. Let's press those into place. Opens like so. You could put a little sentiment there if you wanted to, but you have plenty of space to write a note. And it's just a very cool fun fold done in a masculine way. So you can give this to anybody. And I just love the way that that works. Love me some fun folds. So those are tonight's projects, a little bit of a triangle theme, and the Take to the Sky suite, I think is the name of the suite. So hope you enjoyed this. If you did, take a moment before we jump into the Q&A to hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, we encourage you to subscribe so you get notified about our future videos. So there we go. Those are tonight's projects. I am going to go ahead and tee up questions. Again, if you have joined us in the middle of the stream and you've got a question for me, go ahead and put a Q in front of that question, and that will make it into my queue. Again, I'm about 20 to 30 seconds ahead of you, so I may miss questions that come in at the very end. You can always shoot me an email at support@thepaperpixie.com if I didn't get to your question. All right? Let's see. Are you tired of this question, Brian? Oh, hold on, wrong screen. So Bobby's question is, how come Brian doesn't get his cameo shot anymore? A couple of different reasons. So I had unplugged the camera around the time he stopped having his cameo. We also had a lovely audience member that decided to have some negative comments for Brian, to which Brian decided he doesn't really want to come on camera. So don't worry, that audience member has been blocked. And they're not welcome to comment anymore. So anyways, that's why he doesn't get his cameo shot. I still don't have the camera plugged in. I'm not gonna say never. His cameo shot may come back, but he's always right here next to me, so. Ooh, what do you do to relax or rejuvenate from a busy day? This is a great question. So Pat, I actually love to play video games. I'm trying to think, tomorrow there's a new video game that releases, the Luigi's Mansion 2, I think. I do love to play video games, basically anything Mario or Luigi or Zelda. Those are some of my favorite games. So it's kind of a fun thing I get to do with the kids as well. That's pretty much what I do. Other than that, maybe a good binge-worthy TV show. I do like to read as well, but I don't pick up a book that often. It usually only happens when I'm on vacation, but I do love to read as well. Thank you for the question. How do I keep my fingers from getting sticky? They sometimes get sticky, Kathy, but honestly, it just comes from a lot of practice. So I obviously have been making lots and lots of projects with liquid glue. It is my adhesive of choice. So I just kind of have the practice from not applying too much glue, and I try to stay away from the edges if I can, and that usually prevents glue from getting on my fingers. But if I do get glue, excuse me, I'll just, a lot of times I'll just rub the adhesive off. It dries pretty quickly, and then just throw the little adhesive boogers in the trash, or I will use my chamois to wipe my fingers off. I'll use a paper towel if I've really made a mess, but it doesn't happen a whole lot that my fingers get sticky, so. Let's see. Mary, they typically only do bonus days once per year. So bonus days will be for the month of July to be used in the month of August. And I know that the Holiday Mini doesn't launch until September, but it's typically always been kind of this July, August timeframe, and they just do the bonus days once per year. But they have other promotions throughout the year, like free shipping days, and right now we've got the discount on bundles. So there's, different things throughout the year, but bonus days typically are right before that Holiday Mini catalog. Ooh, good question, Gary. I was recognized at a funeral a couple weeks ago, which was interesting, but not usually, which is good. I'm an ambivert, so I can be both. I have introverted and extroverted tendencies. I lean a little bit more introverted, but I do love meeting people. But yeah, it hasn't happened very often. When I go to Stampin' Up! Events, that's a different story, but not so much in public, which is good. Oh, do mini Tic Tacs fit in the box? They do, Barbara. I forgot to pull those out. You can fit 2 at least, maybe 3, but I don't know why you'd give somebody 3 of them. But you can fit 2 in there. So Lisa, the next Members Thursday class, we just had it this past Thursday. So it is the 3rd Thursday of the month. So the next members only stream, I want to say, was July, I'm doing this off the top of my head, July 16th or whatever the Thursday is that week. So it's the 3rd Thursday of the month. Ooh, this is a good one, Gary, because I have some OCD tendencies as well. And I'm not trying to make fun of OCD. I do have some very specific particularities when it comes to my organization and crafting organization. Organization in my house is a whole different story, but my crafting organization and the way that I piece together projects. So a couple of things that I like to do, a couple of tools and gadgets. So one I demonstrated tonight using sort of that right angle corner of the Simply Scored or the paper trimmer or something along those lines to make sure I can get those corners lined up perfectly. The other thing that I love, I'm going to show these as an example. I purchased these off of Etsy and they're called Crafty Corners, I think. Many of you may already have these, but they are, I didn't take the paper backing off. That's a little part of my particularity. I want to protect the acrylic, but these are clear acrylic. They all come, or it comes in a number of different widths. So here's 2 examples here. This is 3/8 of an inch. This is 1/2 of an inch. So you can actually use these in something like the stamp positioning tool or the Simply Scored to help you line up layers. So for example, on tonight's card, if I wanted to get this lined up exactly right, I could have used my Simply Scored or paper trimmer or stamp positioning tool. You'd put your cardstock in the corner, you'd put your crafty corner in the corner, and then you can make sure that your layer or your mat is perfectly lined up. So that's another thing that I use as a tool. Trying to think what else has kind of helped me. Shoot me an email, Gary, if there's specific things that you struggle with, and I can see if I can give you some suggestions. What's that? Oh, gotcha. I'm trying to think, yeah, if there's anything specifically you can share, Gary. But yeah, tools like this where you can get things lined up. Because I think one of the things that a lot of people get hung up on is getting things just right. And if you can use tools like that or things you already have in your crafting space that can help you get things just right, that can really help bring a little bit more joy to the craft and not worry so much about being just perfect. Let's see. Treat holders for a baby girl shower. This is a good question, Sandra. I don't specifically have like baby shower themed. I have a couple on my blog, but really you can adapt a lot of my 3D projects for a baby shower just by changing up the sentiment or the colors or papers that you use. I know I had one baby shower from back when I was early demonstrator days. But you can shoot me an email and I can point you in that direction if that'll help you. Ooh, Ooh, Kathy, what am I doing wrong if my seal comes out very skinny? It sounds like one of two things is happening. Either you may only be putting pressure on one side versus what my brain today is just versus consistent pressure, so that the whole width of the strip. That could be one of the things. So make sure you're not turning your thing like it should be straight up and down. Don't put it at an angle. That could be part of it. Another thing that can happen if you put it at an angle and you're putting like extra pressure on one side of the roller versus the other is that the plastic tape will slide off the middle. So it'll be kind of cattywampus or off center. That could be contributing to that as well. The other thing, although it's probably rare, is your tape could be twisting. But I don't think that would be the case, because I'm not sure you'd be able to use this if it twisted too much. So a couple of things there to try. You can send me a picture if you want to. Okay, so the dies are available, Donna. The bundle itself, the stamp set, is currently out of stock, and the last I checked today, it's estimated to be restocked the week of July 8th. Okay, that could change. It could be sooner, it could be later. I've heard that there might be a missing part or a malfunctioning part in the warehouse. We do make our own stamp sets, or Stampin' Up! Makes their own stamp sets. So that is part of why there's 5 of the Stampin' Die bundles that are out of stock, and it's because of the stamp set, not the dies. But I think all of them are estimated to be restocked, the 5 that are out, the week of July 8th. So I actually, Kathy, recommend that you put your box in a place that you don't have to move it. So dies, metal dies, whether you put them on magnet sheets or not, do have some weight to them. And so I try to put them in a spot where I don't have to move the box. And I know that that is not always ideal for every crafting space, but if there is either a rolling cart, you could put that on if you've got sort of space restrictions. So then you've got the leverage of the wheels to move it. I know a lot of people use the IKEA, what are they called? The 3-tier cart. You can get them from IKEA. You can get them from Container Store. I think you can get them off of Amazon. That might be an option for you if you've got a different, challenges with your space. But otherwise, I recommend either putting it in a box where you don't have to move the box. You can just go to the box to take out the dies that you need, or put it on a rolling cart. I don't know if the crafty corners are in my favorite things, Kathy, because they kind of come and go out of stock just because of the way that Etsy works, but I'll try to get those added. Because I talked about them on today's video, I will add the link after tonight's live stream into the description, so look for it there, okay? Let's see. Yes, Dawn, there is a way to rewind Stampin' Seal. I don't know if I'm going to be able to demonstrate that, but I'm going to attempt to, because my Stampin' Seal doesn't have an issue at the moment, but hang tight. I'm going to try to flip the camera so you can see in just a minute, and I'll come right back to the questions. Let's go back to here. Okay. So this could be a huge mess because I haven't actually had to do this in a long time, but there are 2 wheels in the Stampin' Seal, okay? So if you're having some issues with tape not being tight, you can actually lift up one of these wheels. See, they're just gears. So you want to lift up basically so that they're not interlocked, and then you can twist and turn this bigger wheel depending on which way you need the tension to go. And then you can make sure to press it back down to where it's interlocked in the gears. Hopefully you can see. If I lift that up, it is plastic. You want to be gentle, but you can lift it up out of the gear to tighten that tape if you need to, okay? So that would be my tip for you. Now watch me try to put this together live. Here we go. I don't use the Stampin' Seal all that much just because I love my liquid glue. All right, let's come on back here. Great question. And we've got the last question I see at the moment. Donna Do, does Stampin' Up! Provide tours of their warehouse? I believe they do. What I would recommend is that you call Stampin' Up! 800-STAMP-UP or 782-6787 and check with them. The demonstrator support who answers that number, they should be able to tell you. I'm pretty sure they do tours of the warehouse, but they only have it on certain days and times that I'm aware of. So just give them a call and they can give you all those details. Okay. All right. We have reached the end of the questions. My voices, I've been talking too much today, apparently. I hope you enjoyed tonight's projects and learned a great tip or trick or two. If you did, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you be a subscriber. And if you'd like to give the channel support, you can join my Pixie patrons. There is a link down in the video description. We'd love to have your support. And I'm so grateful for our Pixie patrons. You're gonna see their names pop up during the credits at the end. I do a monthly members only stream for them. We have a great time together. We just had our last stream was last month, having so much fun. We'd love to have your support. I will be live again next Wednesday for episode 336. That will be Wednesday, June 3rd. 2024. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We're getting close to the 4th of July. And as always, the bundle sale is not as always. As always, all you need are stamps, ink, and a little paper pixie is what I usually say. We've got the bundle sale going through June 30th. And then what you can look forward to on June 3rd are new online exclusives releases and bonus days. Reach out to me if you have any questions. The easiest way to reach me is my email address, support@thepaperpixie.com. Thanks again for watching live or on replay. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed week. We'll see you next time, and here's a shout out to my Pixie patrons. Take care. Bye.